Hello everybody, we'll be doing chapter 3 in Principles of Management, Values, Attitudes, Emotions, and Culture, the manager as a person. Very important to remember that we're dealing with people here, and not to forget that, and not to think that we're dealing with machines. Today's learning objectives will be describing the various personality traits that affect how managers think, feel, and behave, explain what values and attitudes are, and describe their impact on managerial action, appreciate how moods and emotional influences impact the organization and its members, describe the nature of emotional intelligence, which is probably one of the most important concepts covered in Principles of Management, and its role in management, define the organizational culture, and explain how managers both create and are influenced by organizational culture. Slide number 1, and again, I apologize, I'm going to try to raise my voice. There is some gardening going on in the back. There's a leaf blower, so if you hear that, that's what it is. It's not my air conditioner malfunctioning. Personality traits. Particular tendencies to feel, think, and act in certain ways that can be used to describe the personality of every individual. Managers' personalities influence their behavior and their approach to managing people and resources. Next slide. Big 5 personality traits. We're going to go through each one. This is something that you can look at in slide 1 of 6. We have extroversion, negative affectivity, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness to experience. The next slide, big 5 personality traits, slide 2 of 6. Personality traits that enhance managerial effectiveness in one situation may actually impair or be detrimental in another. You can't use one personality everywhere. There needs to be sometimes a use of different ones. You must be a person that has multiple personalities. Now, I'm not telling you to be schizophrenic. What I'm saying is that you can't always use your same personality. If you're a very open, gregarious, friendly kind of guy or gal, that won't work well in every single organization. So you may have to take that personality and dial it back a few notches so that it works well with the organization that you are in, because just as people are different, management's perception of those people, more important than the perception, but how they interact with them, has to be different and match them. But of course, always with respect. That works everywhere. Next slide. Slide 3 of 6. Extroversion is a tendency to experience positive emotions and moods and feel good about oneself and the rest of the world. Next slide. Slide 4 of 6. Negative affectivity is the tendency to experience negative emotions and moods, feel distressed, and be critical of oneself and others. Terrible, terrible, terrible thing. That, I could tell you, will never work anywhere. Agreeableness, tendency to get along well with others, very good. Conscientiousness, tendency to be careful, scrupulous, and persevering, meaning you're always trying hard to get the job done. Openness to experience, tendency to be original, have broad interests, be open to a wide range of stimuli, and be daring and take risks. The next slide, other personality traits that affect managerial behavior: internal locus of control, belief that you are responsible for your own fate. Own actions and behaviors are major and decisive determinants of job outcomes. External locus of control is the tendency to locate responsibility to one's fate in outside forces and to believe your own fate and own behaviors have little impact on outcomes. In other words, what can I do? I'm not in charge. It doesn't, the buck doesn't stop by me. Very, very, very bad. It's not good to take too much responsibility for things and say that, in certain times things will happen that are out of control and beat yourself up. That's bad. At the same time, you can't be too relaxed and too like, well, what can I do? That's not very good either. Self-esteem, slide 3 of 5, is the degree to which people feel good about themselves and their capabilities, which is central to all success in life. High self-esteem causes a person to feel confident, deserving, and capable. And there is a big difference between high self-esteem and being haughty. Too much self-esteem will lead to haughtiness. Having a high self-esteem means that you understand your value and the talents that are given to you by God, and understand that it's important to use them the right way. High self-esteem does not mean that you have to become a braggart. Persons with low self-esteem have poor opinions of themselves and are unsure about their capabilities. Slide 4 of 5, need for achievement, the extent to which an individual has a strong desire to perform challenging tasks well and to meet personal standards for excellence. Nothing wrong with having a need for achievement as long as it doesn't impair your decision-making process, as long as you don't get stuck in the rut when somebody makes a mistake and you fly off the handle. Your need for achievement has to be tempered by reality, understanding that just because you have a tremendous need for achievement, it doesn't mean that others in the organization will share that. Need for power, the extent to which an individual desires to control or influence others. Slide 5 of 5. Need for affiliation is the extent to which an individual is concerned about establishing and maintaining good interpersonal relations, being liked, and having other people get along. Values, attitudes, and moods and emotions. A value or values describe what managers try to achieve through work and how they think they should behave. Attitudes capture managers' thoughts and feelings about their specific jobs and organizations. Moods and emotions encompass how managers actually feel when they are managing. Terminal and instrumental values, slide 1 of 3. Terminal values, a lifelong goal or objective that an individual seeks to achieve. Instrumental values, a mode of conduct that an individual seeks to follow. Slide 2 of 3. Norms are unwritten informal codes of conduct that prescribe how people should act in particular situations and are considered important by most members of a group or organization. Value systems are the terminal instrumental values that are guiding principles in an individual's life, what a person is striving to achieve in life, and how they want to behave. Slide 1 of 4, attitudes. Look at it yourself, is a sheet that has different types of measures of job satisfaction. Job satisfaction can be defined as a collective or a collection of feelings and beliefs that managers have about their current jobs. Managers high on job satisfaction believe their jobs have many desirable features or characteristics. They love their jobs. Upper managers in general tend to be more satisfied. Of course, they have more perks, more responsibilities, more perks, and more money, and therefore they're more satisfied with the amount of work that they're doing, and they feel that it's more meaningful work than entry-level employees who burn out if they stay at the same job too long. Slide 3 of 4, in attitudes, organizational citizenship behaviors that are not required of an organizational member, but that contribute to and are necessary for organizational efficiency, effectiveness, and competitive advantage. Organizational commitment is the collection of feelings and beliefs that managers have about their organization as a whole. Next slide, organizational commitment, belief in what their organization is doing, proud of what their organization stands for, more likely to go above and beyond the call of duty, and less likely to quit. Moods and emotions, slide 1 of 4. A mood is a feeling or a state of mind. Positive moods provide excitement, elation, and enthusiasm. Negative moods lead to fear, distress, and nervousness. Emotions, next slide, moods and emotions, slide 2 of 4. Emotions, intense, relatively short-lived feelings, often directly linked to whatever caused that emotion and are more short-lived. Once whatever has triggered the emotion has been dealt with, the underlying cause, the feelings may linger in the form of a less intense mood. You get angry over something, right? We're all humans, we get angry sometimes, and the further away we move away from that triggered, the person said something bad to you or something, I don't know, you got into some sort of accident, God forbid, a little fender bender, as time marches on, and that emotion will be there, but won't be as, as prominent, and as such, your mood will shift, will get better, but it still may not be 100%. And as time moves on, your mood becomes better and better. Slide 3 of 4, moods and emotions. Subordinates of managers who experience positive moods at work may perform at somewhat higher levels and be less likely to resign and leave their organization. So what we call morale in the military is very, very important at work as well. Under certain conditions, creativity might be enhanced by positive moods. The more creative the work is, the more the work is meaningful, and of course, the better the work could be. Figure 3.4, you can look at it for yourself, as a measure of positive and negative mood at work. Emotional intelligence, otherwise known as EI. So we have IQ, right, intelligence quotient, which measures, for lack of a better way of saying, how smart one is, and emotional intelligence, known as EI. You could be a very smart individual, but could be an emotionally intelligent fool. The ability to understand and manage one's own moods and emotions and the moods and emotions of others. If you don't understand your moods and emotions, you can't understand others. An EI or emotional intelligence helps managers carry out their interpersonal roles of figurehead, leader, and liaison. Managers with a high level of emotional intelligence, we're in slide emotional intelligence 2 of 2. So again, managers with a high level of emotional intelligence are more likely to understand how they are feeling and why. And once you understand that, let's say you have something bad happens to a person, they're in a bad mood. And they understand why they're in a bad mood. So if they come to work and they know and they're aware that they are in a bad mood, perhaps that understanding that cognizance will help them better interact with their employees. They'll take a step back before reacting in a negative way. More able to effectively manage their feelings so that they do not get in the way of effective decision making. Organizational culture is a shared set of beliefs, expectations, values, norms, and work routines that influence how individuals, groups, and teams interact with one another and cooperate to achieve organizational goals. Slide 2 of 3. When organizational members share an intense commitment to cultural values, beliefs, and routines, a strong organizational culture exists. When members are not committed to a shared set of values, beliefs, and routines, organizational culture is weak. The next slide is an example of organizational culture, IDEO, product development in Silicon Valley. You can look at it yourself. Slide 3 of 3, attrition, selection. Attrition framework is a model that explains how personality may influence organizational culture. As a result of these attraction, selection, and attrition process, people in the organization, attrition meaning people leaving, retiring, people in an organization tend to have similar personalities, and the dominant personality profile of an organization member shapes organizational culture. So when you have people that leave, retire, and everybody in the organization has the same kind of worldview or the view of the organization, you kind of have a very, very similar organizational culture. Slide 1 of 3, the roles of values and norms in organizational culture. Terminal values signify what an organization and its employees are trying to accomplish. Instrumental values guide how the organization and its members achieve organizational goals. Slide 2 of 3, managers determine and shape organizational culture through the kinds of values and norms they promote in an organization. Next slide, 3 of 3, figure 3.6, factors that maintain and transmit organizational culture, the values of the founder, ceremonies and rites, stories and language, and socialization. Socialization, organizational socialization, is the process by which newcomers learn an organization's values and norms and acquire the work behaviors necessary to perform jobs effectively. Slide 1 of 4, ceremonies and rites. Ceremonies and rites, formal events that recognize incidents of importance to organization as a whole and to specific employees. You have the next couple of slides, different types of rites. You have a rite of passage, which would be an example would be an induction and basic training. The purpose of that rite is to learn and internalize norms and values. The next slide, 3 of 4, ceremonies and rites. Rites of passage, determining how individuals enter, advance, and leave the organization. Rites of integration, shared announcements of organizational success, build and reinforce common bonds among organizational members. Rite of enhancement, let organizations publicly recognize and reward employees' contributions and thus strengthen their commitment to organizational values. Stories and language, communicate organizational culture, reveal behaviors that are valued by the organization, includes how people dress, the offices they occupy, the cars they drive, and the degree of formality they use when they address one another. That is the end of that slideshow. Thank you very much for listening.